Hey guys, with the new update coming out, we have new gear dungeon stages. Now these are pretty difficult, so hopefully with this video I'll be able to help you guys with placements, timing, strategy, what heroes to use, basically everything you need to know. And the way this is going to work is I will be showing you guys how I beat this stage, explaining some of the mechanics while using basically all of the heroes that you may want. And then we're going to move over to a more budget thing with no Velisse, no Ezareth, no Valara, and I'm going to try to show you guys how that sort of thing works. So if you don't have some of the heroes I show, just wait for the second part. But I'm going to try to explain how it works on the first part, so I recommend watching both. I'm also going to be doing it on stage 13. This is going to work on 12 and 11, but it's just easier for me to show 13 because it is the hardest. So worst case, if you have worst gear or awakenings, you could still probably do 11 or 12, okay? That's how this is gonna go. Now, Gear Dungeon 1, stage 13 is definitely doable with some other things, but this is how I beat it, okay? The main key things that are important here are Greed, Laurel, we got Draylin, and then just whatever DPS you have. Now, it's very important that at the top, you have some DPS that reach. If you remember anything about the old gear dungeon stages, you know that there's a group of enemies that spawns up here, and you have to deal with them. Now, Velisse can actually reach. So can Aeris at A1. You can also make Valk work, but Valk is a lot worse than Aeris because of a very important thing called Rage Reduction. The new modifier that was added to these new gear dungeons just straight up reduces your rage. So it's about like 40% every time the boss hits you with AoE damage, and to my knowledge, that is the only change apart from the enemies, the monsters, being a lot harder to kill, okay? Also, quickly, if you do want to support the channel, the best way to do it is to like and subscribe. If you want to see videos like this, or really more videos like this, or more videos in general, it's the best way to support me and tell me that you want more. Anyways, that's it. Back to the video. So, Aeris is better because you can put him with an Esotericist Lord and cycle back to his ultimates quicker. That's also why Laurel is here, in order to give people a large amount of their ult back. Ezareth is also amazing because he has basically no reliance on his ult. Velisse feeds Ezareth, but also targets pretty far away and has a low cost. Malvira, I just wanted to use Malvira. She's one of the tanks. Draylin is there for some healing and tank. And then Valara's there as our main bottom DPS. Let's go into it. So, oh, and also Eirlys is there. You could use Elwyn. It literally makes zero difference. Now, what we're going to do as we go in is we are going to place our Valara. We're going to place our Rage and Healer, which is super, super important. And then we're going to place down our tank. Okay, the tank is going to cycle in and out very frequently. And we're just kind of using her to draw fire from the arrows and also draw fire from the boss. Now, what we can do at the top is place Draylin right here. It's very important that you don't use her on the front slot, because that's where your Valkyria or your Aeris is going to go. Now, after the archers basically die, you're going to be able to... Here, let's just freaking ult like that. Bam! And then we're going to put down our Greed. Greed's just built for Rage Regen. And then what we could do is we could also put down Ezareth. Now I'm going to wait a tiny bit on Ezareth because I do want him to hit more enemies. And just like that, bam, he's going to do some work. We can put down our Valara ult as well. And this should just straight up clear everything that we need. Now we can put out our Velisse. Now Velisse, like I said, does reach very, very far. So that's very, very good. Also, Ezareth, you do want to swap him, so he eats a summon, which is good. Now, we can actually click Velisse ult as soon as you need, because when the group of enemies comes out, Velisse summons will be there ready. Then you can put down your Aeris or your Valkyria. Valkyria does need her exclusive artifact. Aeris does not. And we're just going to ult with him immediately. Now, if your Draylin is a one like mine, you can just click Draylin ult in order to help out a little bit. Ezareth is going to eat up a little bit, and then we can use his ultimate. And we can also just sell Laurel for some rage, which is very nice. Here, hopefully we actually, hold on, which we will, and Valara will kill it. So will Ezareth. You could Valara ult if you need. Personally, I don't need. Also, Velisse just straight up kills the archers. Velisse is so dumb. She's so good. Her ult cost is like nothing as well, which is amazing. Anyways, we're going to Aeris immediately. Then we're going to Velisse immediately as well. You can also put Nestia right there if you need. But because we have our ultimates back already because of Laurel, we don't actually have to worry about it, right? Laurel is your friend for this stage. She's very, very, very powerful. Now we're going to be able to click our Valara ult before we get hit by the rage reducing effects. Then we can swap our Ezareth. We can put down our Laurel because we do want to cycle her as fast as possible. Put out our Velisse ult, and then we can Aeris ult right there as well. And if you need, you could just put Nestia in the top left, which is going to chunk everything down. You guys can see that despite needing, some heroes that are a little hard to get, it's still pretty cookie cutter, right? Which is pretty nice, obviously. Now, something I do not recommend is placing down Malvira because she will actually cause the enemies to heal. This is a no anti-heal strategy, so you got to be very careful with that sort of thing. Anyways, now we can put down our last Laurel. We pick our Aeris ult, and in classic Velisse Aeris fashion, everything dies. This is how I beat it. It was very simple. Now keep in mind my awakenings are decently high and all of that stuff, but we do what we can, right? So if you have these units, that's how you can beat it. But of course, if you don't have those units, what do you do? Well, let me show you guys a little bit of a different team. Also, quickly the gear before I forget. Ezareth, you want Frigid Flame, you want to have really whatever you can. I have HP on. This is not what you want. You just want him built with as much damage as you can. This is what I had on him. I just ran it. Velisse, you mainly want to have just as much damage as you can. Soulbound is recommended. Malvira, whatever tanks that you want. She's barely on the field. Greed, I do recommend doing a Rage Regen build. Mana Spring is good. You want Rage Regen and you want attack speed, ideally. Then, Eirlys, as long as it's Invig or Wings of Grace, doesn't really matter. Nestia, whatever, I auto-equipped her. Valara, you either want Soulbound or Cataclysm. Aeris, you want to have Soulbound, ideally. You could use Cataclysm, but I prefer Soulbound. And then you could do Draylin with tank gear, just for bigger heals, if you need. Or you could do a Wings of Grace, and I recommend Wings on Laurel. Now, it might have taken a while, but I have done 1-13 with this team. This has no Valara, no Eirlys, no Aeris. Aeris? Yeah, no Aeris. It has no freaking Ezareth. It has no Velisse. The key here is these 4 units, okay? Malvira helps a little bit. She's not required, but she's good. We got Demi doing all the damage. If you don't have Demi, you can't do it this way. Then we have Valkyria, which is so much better if you have Aeris instead. And then I had to use Beatrix because there was no other option, except maybe Ajax. So I'll try to break it down, but let's get into it. So to kind of walk through it, to start, you want to put Demi on that spot. She's on there specifically so you can get some inspiration from Diao-Chan later, which you do need the A1. Then we're going to put our first tank. So the reason why we have 3 tanks is we need to cycle to get Laurel. Because of the rage really impairing our team, we have to do things a bit differently. So what we have to do is we have to swap our tanks so there's time to put in our Laurel, okay? So here we're going to go in with obviously that first 4 formation. Then we're going to do our Diao-Chan. And now we're going to put down our Vortex at the top. Vortex is there to increase Valkyria's damage. Nerissa is probably better, especially if you're using exclusive on Valkyria, which I am. You should be. And I would say Nerissa's probably a bit better. Potentially. Now, obviously Diao-Chan you know, maybe this is the best way to do it. I don't know. Either way, we're going to put our Valk up there. We want to make sure that she doesn't get too much shield to where she can't be healed. Right there, we want her to be healed by Vortex, which she does. And then we're going to put down our Laurel. Laurel's going to increase Valkyra's damage. We're going to spam her ult so that she doesn't lose her shields immediately, which I think she did slightly lose her shields, but that's okay. And then we're going to put our Beatrix right there. Beatrix is unique and only really shared by Ajax with her range, and it's going to allow her and potentially Ajax to target that tile on the top left and hit everyone over there. If you don't have Beatrix or Ajax, you just can't hit that tile. So you're going to have to use a Velisse. But I'm trying not to use a Velisse. Obviously, you know, it's pretty, you know, normal for me to say, if you have any better options like Valara, Velisse, Ezareth, please use them. It'll make your life easier. Also on the bottom, make sure you're always using Malvira ult whenever you're getting more than 8 block. Because we can only handle 8 block, but Malvira ult lasts longer. So you could use Malvira, you could use Crodor, you could use Trusk. Anyone that gives extra block is going to be great for you. Now on the top, keep in mind that we do need to be worrying about ults. So there we're going to use our Vortex ult and then our Valkyra ult. And this will allow us to do enough damage. We could also use the Beatrix once it comes up, but we probably won't for the cycle. Now as soon as the Laurel comes back, we're going to be able to sell our King Hars. Because he doesn't have extra block, we're not selling Malvira because she does have extra block. So sell your Hars, put down Brokir as just an example. Any tank really works, but that's the one that I recommend. And then we'll be able to cycle Laurel and also cycle the tank. This is something that I came up with myself. I'm pretty proud of it. I think it helps a ton. Now, just keep in mind, the only way you're killing the bottom is with Demi for that anti-heal and high damage. I have Demi built very specifically in a very strange set. So if you don't have that type of set, you're going to struggle. So definitely look at the builds after. Now on the top, Valkyra is going to get her ult. We're going to ult with her immediately. And this is where it gets very tight. Now, I didn't build my Valkyra and my Beatrix as well as I could have, because my gear is obviously above average. But either way, this will be very close no matter what. But if you build them well enough, you will be able to. Now, if you use Aeris with an SO Lord, you're obviously going to have an easier time. On the bottom, once again, just keeping an eye out on Malvira. We could use our Wood Elf, we could use our Elowin, we could use our King Hars A1 if you have it, or just straight up, Brokir ult to try to keep alive a little bit better, and then just click Demi ult and try to survive long enough. That's just really the whole thing, right? And then what's going to happen at the end is we're going to put down our Laurel to give Valkyra some ult. She's going to get about halfway, so hopefully we can build up the last little bit. If you have her A1 on Valkyra, which I think is pretty much required for this, either this or Aeris A1, then you should be able to get your rage back. So speaking of rage, we're going to be able to ult with Demi and Valkyra, and then we kill. Basically, like I said, Demi kills the bottom. You just got to try to keep your tanks alive as best you can. And at the top, you're trying to cycle Laurel with also the tanks on the bottom. Use Beatrix for some extra damage, and just kind of deal with the top. If you have Aeris, Aeris can technically solo the top. But I didn't want to use Aeris, because I wanted to keep this a little bit more low-key. Anyways, that's how you can beat it. Obviously, swap out any of these units with any better ones, and you'll have a much easier time. But yeah, that's how I cleared it. Now, the damage numbers I did show very briefly earlier, but they are here if you would like them in a second. As you can see, victory, no pod, full clear. I mean, freaking hard as hell. And that's the damage. Demi is a must. Yeah, with that out of the way, quickly, some substitutions and stuff that you could use. Like I said, Aeris, very important. If you use the Aeris, please use an Esotericist Lord. Now, instead of Demi, you could use something like a Valara, like I showed you earlier. Valara Greed works amazing. Instead of Valara, you could use another DPS. I know there's a couple people using other things. there's mine. I was like, wow, this is such a cool clear. You could do something like this. This guy used Vierna, Demi, Artemis, which is pretty damn interesting. Using Vierna, Artemis, just cycling the alts as much as possible. And then, like I said, Aeris basically solos the top. But you do need him A1, which is a pretty big ask for a hero that no one really tries to summon for. But as you can see, there are a lot of teams. Just take inspiration where you can. As you can see, Vierna and Aeris are still viable. But the thing is, you know, you need Aeris. So if you're looking for something without it, this is what you're going to use. Demi needs to be built very specifically. You need a Nightmare Samsara to get the rage you need. Build the best pieces of left side gear. I would recommend something better than this, but I tried to keep it not insane. It's still insane, but I tried my best here. There's a little bit of room, and you want to do some attack speed main as well, which is really weird, but she stacks off of it. Malvira, you want to do Unshaken Will for some extra damage. Beatrix, you want to do Soulbound. I could definitely build this better, but I didn't want to, even though it's still built pretty well. We have Valkyra. Valkyra's built really bad. Build Valkyra a lot better. You also want her exclusive, okay? Her exclusive is very, very important. Laurel has Wings of Grace. Elowen had the Eirlys gear from earlier. We had Diao-Chan, most attack possible. We basically just want to build as much tankiness on the tanks as well. And Vortex, you want as much HP as you can in, you know, a way so that you can get the biggest shields. But yeah, that's how you beat it. Hopefully this helps someone out there. It's a hard stage. Don't feel too discouraged if you're struggling. And your requirements do not need to be as high for lower stages. Keep in mind this is stage 13. That so far is the lowest requirements I have seen. So yeah. Anyways, I hope you guys beat the stage. Best of luck. Like and subscribe. Destined signing it.